we got ourselves a leg. All right, so next we're going to work on the skirt that's going to go between the legs. I got some boards set out here that are, some of them got a little bit of a warp in them. Some there's a little bit of a twist. So essentially, I'm going to try to do is save as much as I can out of each one. And we don't need a lot out of each one, but we're going to get them jointed up, and we're going to run through the joiner, and then we're going to rip them down to size, or excuse me, we're going to cross cut them down to size. I'm basically just going to cut 12 and 16-inch pieces out of these, and from there then we'll use our planer here and we'll plane them down. And then we're also going to route into our legs so that we can have a mortise and tenon joint. So let's get started on that. So I threw this jig together real quick. It's just 2 even blocks on both sides, a little bit taller than our 2-inch that we need for our legs. And we've got a block up here that's going to serve as the stop for our router. And then we've got a guide on this side that we're going to run the router against so that we get a nice straight even cut. In the back, I've got a block clamp down that the leg will butt up against. So essentially to load it, and I've also got a block that'll support underneath to keep it level. So you just slide your leg in up against the back block. Position this underneath your support for the back of the leg, which is right here, this section here. And then from there, all we got to do is figure out the rest of our cut. Here we go. And that wraps that up. We got 4 legs that are done. All I got to do is be glued together. So now on to the next part, which is taking these 4 pieces, which will go in between the sides. About like so. Actually, it'll be on this side. And there'll be a leg here in this corner. So we're going to route these off. And then, so that they're nice and rounded, it'll be a 1/4 inch round off on either side. And then from there, we can glue them into the legs. Okay, so now that that's done, I've kind of got things laid out in largest to smallest. This stack will be most of our 1-inch pieces. This will be for our 1/2-inch pieces, and then 1/4-inch pieces. And I have a tendency to kind of change my mind midstream, but so we're going to start with the 1-inch pieces. We're going to cut down 1 inch by 1 inch, and however long they are, and then we'll cut them all down to 1 inch later. Then that way we can be nice and consistent, and we don't have to continuously run a bunch of pieces through, and we can just run one long piece through. So we're going to get that cut down, and then once we get everything cut down, then we can lay everything out and figure out what pattern we want for the top. So that way we can get it organized, and then all we have to do is apply glue to it and get them glued together. All right, so I did some math, and we've got enough pieces right here. We should have enough pieces right here for the 1-inch pieces. We should have enough for the 1-inch pieces here. This will essentially be, they'll be cut into 1-inch pieces that'll sit like this. They'll only be 1 inch tall. They'll pretty much be 1 inch square. And then I'm going to have a 1/2-inch piece that I also can use, and as well as 1/4-inch pieces. So now we've got it set up. We've got our table saw set up to 1/2 inch. It's almost like a really tiny fraction of an inch shorter, just to make room for the glue. There we go. So now we got a nice 1/4-inch gap, and it'll run right through there. Just to show you, even this little piece, which is, as you can tell, much smaller than a 1/4 inch, will not, if I push it up against the blade, it won't fall down anywhere. Up here it will, and back here, but that's only if we come away from our fence. So now that that's done, what we're going to do is we're going to set our stop block up for 1 inch. So we just need a block that is nice and square. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. That should do. We're going to set that up 1 inch from our slot. And then everything will be the same length. There we got a bucket of little pieces that are all going to get glued together. See if you can see that. You get a bucket of little pieces, they're all going to get glued together, but instead of being glued together this way, we're going to glue them together that way. So that'll be pretty cool, I think. Then you can get different patterns running different directions. So, all right, so I'll have to figure out the pattern and get them laid out, and we'll go from there. All right, so we got our pieces all glued together. As you can see, I still got some wax here. I'm sorry I didn't get it captured. It was my nephew, my brother, and I, we glued it together. And it, in total, was 880 pieces. And part of the challenge was that our open time on our glue was supposedly only about 10 minutes. But we got everything squeezed together, and we got it pretty darn flat, I think. But because we had to do it in such a hurry and we weren't able to get clamps on it until the end, due to the complexity of the pattern, I'm going to end up running it through a planer. And in order to do that, I'm going to first need to put some pieces on the end. Usually it's not a good idea to run cross grain, but if you run it as little as possible to kind of take off as little as possible so you can just shave it until it's nice and flat, then you're at least risk. But I've still got some of the wax paper on the end here as well. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to sand that off so we can get at least a little bit of a decent surface on the end. And then I'm going to glue these pieces like so. And that'll serve as our head and our tail. So I think I may just end up running it through the planer in one direction. And because of that, if the blade comes down on this, it'll push into it. It's this back side that you got to worry about the most. So I may just sand one end and then attach that, and that way once we get things level, then I can run it through a jointer or a table saw, so long as we got a flat surface to run against the fence. So I think, kind of thinking on the fly here, I think I'm just going to use one piece on the end. Okay, so we got the router set up with our 1/4 inch round over, which we're going to put around this edge here. And so I got a test board here that I'm going to use to make sure that we got it set correctly. Always want to use a test board, not your actual product until you're ready and you're sure that it's set the way you want it. All right, so in order to attach the top, what I'm going to use is some small blocks like this. I've got 6 of these. They're approximately, I think they're about 1/2 inch square. Yep, pretty much right at it. And they're about 2 inches long. And what we're going to do is first I'm going to glue those to our base, and our base is twisted just a little bit. You can see there's a little bit of a gap there, but hopefully we can get that to that spring to come out of it when we attach it to the top. But so what we're going to do is we're going to put these in here. It's going to be 1 in each corner, like so. And these will be glued to this frame. And then we're going to put 1 in the middle on the ends. All right, so now we are ready to stain. Alright, so our stain is nice and dry. And to protect this top from cups and other things that are wet, we're going to put polyurethane on top of it. And I'll probably only do 2 coats. Usually I recommend 3, but we'll see how glossy things get. All right, so everything's dried out. Still got a little bit of a bow in it, but we'll see how much of that we can pull out with our screws. So we got a shirt laid down here so we don't scratch our finish on any of the table. All we got to do is we're going to pre-drill some holes and put our screws in. There we go. One end table. Made of lots of pieces of wood.